What's going on? This is Yancy, author and producer of the This Is Why series. Make sure you go now and subscribe to my website, www.newfacemanagement.org. This is why you go to college.
Face Entertainment.
New Face Family. New Face Family.
This is why you go to college.
New Face Entertainment.
New Face Entertainment.
This is why you go to college.
New Face Entertainment.
This is why you go to college.
This is why you go to college.
And this is why you go to college.
Get out of here.
All right, let's make magic.
All right, ladies and gentlemen. Introducing the one and only Mr. Howard Crumpton. You alright, boy?
Yeah,
Yeah?
you got it.
Introduce yourself to the camera, man. Let me know who you are.
Howard Crumpton, clinical psychologist from Oakland, California, currently residing in Olney, Maryland. Hampton University graduate, 2000 to 2004. My majors were psychology and Spanish honors.
Cool. Yeah. And then you moved on, further education.
So after Hampton University, I worked for 3 years, conducting research, helping to write a book, and helping to build a mental health collaborative on the site of a public school, and then went to University of Virginia for 5 years, 4 years of which were on campus, from 2007 to 2012. And there I attained my PhD in clinical psychology.
All right.
That's it.
Dr. Crumpton. Got a few doctors in New Face.
That's right. There's another notable, very noteworthy doctor associated with the New Face family,
Yeah.
Dr. Tim, who's also at medical school at the
Yeah.
university.
We got
At EBMC
We got Dr. Frazier, Dr. McClure, Dr.
at
Woodley.
University.
We got a few. Since we're on the topic of your education and your practice, real quick, Success Without Limitations.
Yeah.
It was something that I was really looking forward to doing. Obviously, after you graduated, that we discussed it. Even when you were going over to Spain, and then when you came back, I started the seminar on African American males and depression and suicide. Then I went ahead and started a student organization over at ODU's campus, Success Without Limitations, which went on and did seminars on depression and suicide, also do a number of different community services. What would you say in your practice, or what would you think the effect of having something like this, what New Face was able to give to a campus, what that effect would be for those students that are homesick, obviously may be depressed or things of that nature? How would you think that this will help them?
Well, I think the impact is really big because research is now starting to catch up with the idea of human evolution and understanding that we are social creatures. I think that's something that people can say casually, but really understanding what all that means is really starting to take hold now. So there's a lot more research on isolation, right? And all of the sort of deleterious effects that come with people not having social connections. And so when you think about all the things that we try to address just by Western medicine, we fall short because a lot of folks don't have connections to other people. They don't have friendships, they don't have accountability partners, they don't have someone that's going to sort of encourage them. And something as simple as just compassion, right? And saying that it's okay that you messed up, and it's okay to come back to start again, right? So, just framing things as life and all of the experiments that we do as experiments, as something that should be looked at with curiosity, it's almost like this very deterministic, fatalistic, you didn't do it perfectly in this moment, so it's all screwed up. And I think what has been big from New Face and from Success Without Limitations is that, the folks involved in those programs did get that sense of compassion, did get that sense that you can go out there and mess up, and it's okay. And when you want to go further, you have support to do that. You might even, you're going to get sort of emotional support. You're going to get some academic support. You're going to get, maybe a mentor. You might even get financial support in order to bridge the gap when you're not able to do that. So in terms of how big the impact of Success Without Limitations is and how big the impact of New Face is on people's lives, not just for, yes, for the founders, but also for everyone, who was a part of the program, I think was really, really big.
Yeah. Well, yeah, let's take it back for a little bit. You mentioned the founders. I didn't even talk about the founders. We're going to talk about the founders of New Face. Obviously, you're one.
Right.
I will be another. And then you have Mr. Sean Washington, who will be the third. Coming from a flyer on a party, a flyer for a house party, that's basically how we, got it started. I think we had a vision or we had an idea, but what did you think? Or did you think it would be this have this much of an effect on everybody, or what did you think?
I don't know
going and coming back, and
Yeah, that's a great question, man. I don't know that I knew that it was going to spread in the way that it would. Obviously, you and I met because of our cousins, right? So I have a cousin, Femi, who was at Hampton before, and he's the reason that I even came to Hampton, right? A lot of mine.
And my cousin's the reason I came to Hampton.
Right, exactly. And so, I didn't have I knew that they threw parties, and I knew I wanted to kind of be a part of that, but I wasn't sure how big that the impact of New Face and everything, all the possibilities, I didn't know how that would come to fruition, right? And so, that said, no. I mean, the first answer is no. I didn't think it would be that big. Was I surprised? Absolutely. First flyer, first party, you threw my name on a flyer.
Your name is Howard.
And
You're
had
popular.
no idea that this was going to happen. Had no idea.
Why would I not put your name on a flyer if we're trying to have people there?
Because you're Yancy of Sean and Yancy.
But you're Howard Crumpton.
Alone, a standalone entity, right? And so I had no idea. I had no idea. No idea that
You
that was
crumped
going to happen.
with your shirt off and everybody went crazy. I'm not sure you remember that.
Okay. So
you might as well tell the story now of how you was, you went on stage.
What I think is more important
with a white towel and decided to crump on stage. You remember this?
For New Face.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
For science.
For science?
Yeah.
Would you want me to tell the story, or are you going to tell the story?
I think you can tell the story pretty well, and I'll add in anything that you might leave out.
Okay, so we have the Delta Gent pageant. It was a pageant put on by the Sisters of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated on Hampton University's campus. Actually, let me backtrack. It wasn't their pageant, it was their Buy a Beauty. That's what it was. So they had people on campus would give a certain amount of money to buy the beauties on stage. So at the time, people didn't realize, I guess, the popularity of certain people on campus. So me, Sean, and Howard were like, you know what, let's go on stage and see what happens. We might have been like the second to last people to go. The Alphas went, the Qs went, the Deltas went, everybody went. Howard decides, I'm gonna go on stage with a white towel on and oil my body up and decide to start dancing. Not only did we go for the most money, we might have doubled all the fraternities. That is this man before you. And actually, I want to add also, Palico Brown was on stage too, Coastal Ernest. It was the four of us. So from that point forward,
As a collective entity, we raised a lot of money.
a lot of money for a good cause.
And it was more like a sponsor, a beauty, you know. But that's what it was called at the time by people.
And that's why your name was on the flyer. All right, so 1 year you left. Yeah, that was your junior year, my sophomore year. Correct?
Mm-hmm.
Was that my sophomore year?
It was your sophomore year. It was the fall of your sophomore year.
And that's
fall
when
of my junior year.
And that's when Coastal came in.
That's when Coastal came in.
And then you came back for your senior year. So
Actually, it was the spring of your sophomore year and the spring of my junior year.
Right. Okay. All right. So you were gone a full year, but not a full school year.
I was gone a full 6 months.
All right. So can you talk about that experience so that you can understand what it would be to be a double major, double Spanish major, and
Sure. I think one of the benefits at the time was that because the Spanish department was still, you know, sort of coming into development, it wasn't exactly clear what folks should do. And so I and 2 other students were the first Spanish majors at Hampton University. So what I had to do was, you know, obviously finish the classes for the DE credits. I had my psychology credits, I had my Spanish credits, and one of the things we had to do was go abroad, and so I could satisfy both psychology credits and Spanish credits at the same time without having to sort of stay at Hampton longer, which would have been a much more costlier endeavor.
would you suggest that for as far as studying abroad? 'Cause I've never done that. So would you suggest that for a college student? Would you suggest that for as far as studying abroad? 'Cause I've never done that. So would you suggest that for a college student?
Absolutely. I mean, in despite you not having sort of been abroad in a formal study program, of the people that I know, have definitely traveled a lot, and you've definitely reaped the benefits of being abroad and making social connections and, you know, trying out a lot of things, just being out of the area, being out of your comfort zone. You're somebody that's been willing to push. And I would always encourage people to push past their comfort zone, you know, as long as they can manage it, as long as they feel like they have the resources to do that. Because what it does for personal development, academic development, professional development, spiritual growth, I mean, anything, whether or not you believe in a higher power, I think just having the spirit that I can manage things on my own, learn things, take them back, and come back to my home and just add more as a citizen of the world is a really big deal. So I would absolutely advocate for people studying abroad if they can.
One major thing I want you to talk about before we wrap it up.
Sure.
You're from the West Coast. You obviously reside on the East Coast now, but obviously you don't know what was going to happen once you decided to come over to Hampton. You came over because of your cousin. What would you think? When I came to Hampton, you were a sophomore. I seen a lot of people from Cali only because I was close with you, but I personally feel like the numbers of people who came from the West Coast started to increase because of the way that we embraced people from the West Coast, whether it be because we gave them a genre of music that they could relate to, having a West Coast DJ, having you there, having Josh, Jaye around. Do you feel like people from the West, after you, felt a little more at home for that, at least for that little bit of moment? Or do you feel like, you know, it's just certain people go from the West Coast to East Coast because of HBCU'S, or is that what you noticed over the years?
You know, it's funny that you asked that. So I would say, I mean, people from the West Coast had to be really intentional about where it is that they were going, right? So like, if you were in Virginia, if you were in Pennsylvania, if you were in, you know, any of the states that surround Virginia, you could happen upon Hampton, right? But you don't happen upon Hampton from almost 2,800 miles away, right? So you do really have to have some sort of beacon of safe haven to say like, yeah, I'm gonna go way far away from home and be okay. So I think that us having taken in folks from the West Coast and provided that sort of haven for them, whether or not, you know, it was through music or it was through, you know, sort of active activities in New Face, or it was when we were housing people for Hurricane Isabel.
Right.
I think that did a lot for what people went back home and said about the home that people could have by the sea, right? You weren't just gonna come to Hampton and be left to the wolves, you know, or left to figure it out. There was gonna be a place where you could connect with people that know other things like you, know your lifestyle, so on and so forth. That will connect you to people from New York, from Texas, from, you know, other parts of the country, so you can have a fulfilling experience.
Are there organizations out there that direct them over here to different HBCUs, as far as people from the West that are looking for something they don't have over there, because there aren't any HBCUs on that side? So are there organizations on the West Coast?
The one that I have the closest contact with is the Hampton Alumni Chapter that's in Los Angeles. Jai Person Lin is the best contact for that. That's in the LA area.
And he was a part of New Face for a few years. Right?
Also a part of New Face.
Lawyer.
And a successful attorney, criminal defense attorney, in LA. But in Bay Area, in Seattle, in different parts of Oregon, there are, in Arizona, there are places we have a lot more work to do in terms of getting the word out, especially to communities of color. But it's definitely out there and it's growing, and we want to continue to make the statement that Hampton's a great place to be.
And then we can't close it up without saying you're a married man and you're a father. Yes, we do have a lot of fathers with the New Face, so just speak on your I guess your life as a father and as a husband. Talking about that, being able to pass on your knowledge and your legacy onto your children, and being the man in the house.
Sir. That's big to put all in one, to put in a short statement.
It's all right. You can handle it. You're a big boy.
Yeah, I guess so. First and foremost, my kids, 14, 5, and 5 months, all at the different developmental stages. I give them the best that I can. The oldest is really involved in sports, and I saw how much support that Hampton athletes needed when they were there, so that definitely sticks out about how hard it was to sort of manage, your athletic calendar and your academic calendar and your personal calendar, and try not to go crazy and all of that, and try to sort of keep your head on straight, because a lot of guys sort of fell prey to either not having money or, falling into the wrong, crowd or something like that. So we definitely try hard to get them in that. Spanish is a big thing of mine, as you know. I was abroad in Spain, and so I speak just only in Spanish to my 5-year-old and my 5-month-old, right? And so he's being raised. They're both the 5-year-old Miles and the 5-month-old Viva Joy are being raised by
bilingual.
Yeah, and Idris is benefiting, from that as well.
All right, and then finally to that high school senior, whether it be from the West Coast or high school senior on the East Coast, trying to make a decision. What do you have to say to them? Looking right there at the camera, what do you have to say to them to let them know, your message?
My message to any high school senior in the world thinking about college, whether or not you have an option, or if you have an option and are unsure about pursuing college as an option versus the military, or versus working or some other alternative, I would say, if you can dig deep, see what it is that's important to you. How is it that you want to show up in the world? Do you want to show up as someone who has integrity, someone who is hardworking, someone who can be trusted, and someone who's going to contribute in general, not just to yourself, but to your family, to your community, and use that as the sort of beacon of light that you'll use when times are dark, when things are hard, in whatever decision that you choose, and whatever path you choose to move forward. But if you choose college, there are a lot of fun times, and there is a lot of support during those dark times. So I would absolutely encourage you to come forward with that choice, because it's a great choice, and there are many reasons why anyone should go to college.
All right, sir. Thank you very much, brother.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. And today wraps up our DC, Maryland, Virginia interviews. Thank God.
Yay!